The Gators have done it. They have fired Dan Mullen. I wasn't certain that this would happen by any stretch of the imagination, but here we are, 6 days before the Gators play the Noles, and Dan Mullen's been let go. Uh, it is an amazing fall for a coach that this time a year ago was almost in the playoff and certainly preparing to play Alabama in the Southeastern Conference Championship game. Just a precipitous fall, the likes of which um, I don't think anybody saw coming. I think a lot of people were trying to compare him as saying he was a top 10 coach coming into the season, and this is how quickly it can fall apart. Um, I'm not shocked. I think that he would have had to have beaten Florida State to keep his job. But now you look back and you say, what's going on in Florida? I think that's a good question because, from 2010 on, the Gators have been a revolving door of coaches. When you think about, Urban's last year there, 2010, that was not a successful season for the Gators. They were 8-5, 4-4 in the league. Year later, 7-6 with Will Muschamp. Then they go 11-2, but have that bad loss to Georgia. Then 4-8, 7-5. 2015, Jim McElwain goes 10-4, wins the East, then goes 9-4, wins the East, is not competitive in games against ranked teams the entire time, then goes 4-7. Then Dan comes in 10-3, then 11-2, and then of course last season 8-4, and now it's looking like best case scenario is 5-6. I mean, Georgia in that time has had since 2010. If you look at Georgia's seasons, now I'm just going on memory here. Um, they haven't had multiple six-loss seasons, and the Gators have. So it's just like, what is happening at Florida? What is going on there that coaches get run out of town real swift? And not only that, that it's just it happens very quickly. I mean, McElwain lost to Georgia, and the next day he was fired in 2017, and that was super bizarre. But the worst season in the last however long at Georgia was 2010. That was a losing season. They were 6-7 that year, if I'm not mistaken. That was a bad year. Mark Richt almost got fired. But in that time since, they've had one season, 2013, where the entire team got hurt, where they lost 5 games or more. So I just, excuse me, Kirby lost 5 games his first season, but not 6 losses 3 times in an 11-season period of time. So what's going on at Florida that they can't get it right? Because it's not just the coaches. It's not just the coaches. There's something going on there different than's going on other places. And the answer usually is it's the people who are hiring the coaches. That's usually what's the case. And this athletic director at Florida has been there for a little bit of time. Scott Strickland was he was athletic director at Ole Miss before he took over in 2016 from Jeremy Foley, who had been there forever and was a really good athletic director for the Gators for a long, long time. And after that, it's not been great at Florida. Um, Jim McElwain, that thing was bizarre, needless to say. And then you hire Dan Mullen and you're firing him. And that's not good. I mean, it's not good for you to fire the most important spot that you hire. So um, I don't really have much bad to say about him. He's got a pretty good reputation, Scott Strickland. But right now he's swimming in it down there. And um, Dan Mullen was a shooting star not that long ago. And things have changed. If you're here for me to dunk on Dan Mullen, I mean, I don't really have much to say. I mean, I think he was a good head coach. I'm not sure that this is the greatest move by the Gators, but I think they've gotten impatient. It can be that you got to do it, and it's not a great move. Those things happen, and the fall is what's he could not have survived the loss to Florida State. That would not have worked. And that you are in the position that you can't survive one single loss is a problem. I mean, you think about the Alabama game this past year for Florida, and that's going to be their best result, and it was a 2-point loss. So, you know, you don't think that what happens in press conferences matters? It totally matters, unfortunately. When you can't get it right, everything can go sideways. And from the Georgia loss press conference on, it's been nothing but bad for Dan Mullen. I mean, the comment about recruiting was either taken out of context or whatever, but he said it. It was not artfully done. I'm certain that he wasn't listening to the people down there who, try to help you along the way. But it sure looked like he didn't care after a while, and that's a problem. That's why you have to make a firing in that case. When that happens, it's over. You can't rescue that. And he's going to get $12 million because that's what the buyout is. I, I mean, you can make that mistake at Florida maybe once, but this next hire is going to have to make sense. And just looking around at the folks, no one immediately jumps out and it's like, oh, that'll work for sure. That's the problem in college football right now if you're not Alabama, Ohio State, or Georgia. And yeah, I left Clemson out of it because they're not like those three right now. So if they were, they wouldn't have, they wouldn't be celebrating a win over Wake Forest in November and scared half to death of their game at South Carolina. I mean, right now, those three are dominating college football, and they are probably going to get all three into the playoff, unless I mean, well, it's totally possible that all three will get in, but two certainly are, and there's a decent shot that three will for sure. So it can't be surprising that we've got to this point. So what the Gators are going to probably do is go out and try to hire someone who can recruit, and that can be hit or miss because recruiting is the most important thing, but it's not the only thing. And Will did a good job at Florida getting the guys there, and he just lost the wrong game in 2012 when he lost to Georgia in Jacksonville, and that sidetracked things from that point forward because in 13 they went 4-8, which was somewhat inexplicable, and then a season later everybody had enough and he was gone. So he recruited well. Jim McElwain took those guys and won with them, and they had momentum. They were winning 10 games, but they weren't beating teams that mattered. So that's the thing at Florida is we've gotten to a point where football is not as important at Florida as it used to be. Football is not as important at Florida as it is at Georgia. And Gator fans, if you want to put your comments down below, you can, but it's the truth. And we've gotten to the point at Florida where, whereas they are a, top 4 school in the SEC in terms of program, whereas they are a top 4 program for sure to me in the league, and like they can turn it around real quick, they're in some real trouble the same way that LSU is because there's no obvious answer right now. Dan Mullen made sense to be hired and going into 18. It made sense. I don't know who there is. I mean, you go hire James Franklin at your own risk, LSU in Florida. He has not proven that he can deliver on the big stage, just the same way Dan Mullen didn't. When you think about Kirby and his, whatever you want to call it at Georgia, people at Georgia were pretty certain that he would succeed because of his recruiting prowess. But we had seen that over a 10-year period at Alabama. He had been at Georgia. You knew what you were getting with Kirby Smart for the most part. I don't know if there's an obvious. I think you know what you're getting with James Franklin if that's who you go with. I think you know what you're getting with Lane Kiffin. Lane has not proven that over a period of time he can win as a head coach. He's proven he can score points. That's not the same as proving that you can win. And I think the dangerous thing for everyone right now in college football is it doesn't look like Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State are letting up anytime soon. Kirby's not leaving Georgia. I mean, his youngest son is like 7. That's not gonna. I mean, and even if he didn't have kids, that's where he went to school. It just he's not an NFL guy. Nick, he's not leaving Alabama anytime soon. And then Ryan Day just got to Ohio State. Why would he leave? So until Luke Fickell goes to Notre Dame, until SC can figure it out, maybe Mario Cristobal can keep it rolling at Oregon. Um, if that's a fit, it seems to be a fit out there. The question is, would he be a fit at Florida? Mario Cristobal's done a really good job at Oregon, but we don't. There's no obvious person, perhaps outside of Luke Fickell, who has proven that they can do things for more than once or in consecutive years. And the problem with Luke Fickell with the Gators is, I mean, I don't want to ever say that something's never ever going to happen, but I am extremely skeptical that Luke Fickell will coach in the SEC. I not let's just leave Florida out of it. I am extremely skeptical that he would coach in the SEC. I just don't. I am skeptical that that will happen, and that's where I'll leave it. So there's not a lot of obvious answers here for the Gators, but I think we will see if this was short-sighted firing Dan Mullen. I don't know. I don't know, but they were very frustrated down there, and they've been getting their clock cleaned. But the next person's going to have to do a heck of a job. We'll just see. We'll see over on Dog Post.